Barney Frank is full of shit, and everybody knows, which it's announced, that he's a major Clinton supporter, and Hillary Clinton can do no wrong as far as he's concerned. On the other side, you have Nina Turner, who is a Bernie Sanders supporter, and she is a very vocal and knowledgeable politician as far as Bernie Sanders is concerned, and one of his chief advocates. I want to play this clip, but I'm going to stop it at point in time and break down Barney Frank, because he's basically spitting the status quo line, and that's not what we need right now.
Former Congressman from Massachusetts, a Hillary Clinton supporter, and Nina Turner, former Ohio State Senator who supports Bernie Sanders. We're probably going to have about 10 minutes of talk time here, so let's try to be respectful and of each other's talk time. We all get something to say. Barney Frank, I'm going to start with you. And by the way, as in any debate, feel free to ignore my question and make any point you want in favor of your candidate. But what I begin with is just, in a closing argument tonight for Wisconsin, what would be the #1 point you would make to Wisconsin voters? And Nina, I would ask you the same thing after Barney finishes. Go ahead, Barney.
Well, there is pretty close agreement on what we want to do in terms of goals on the Democratic side. It's a lot more coherent than the Republican side. The question is, who's a better change agent? And I know the Sanders people are claiming that because of the militancy with which he makes his case, his purity, that he's a better one. But that's not the verdict of almost everybody in the country who has been working hard and effectively for the change we've been able to get. Look at, for example, the Congressional Black Caucus, the Congressional Hispanic Caucus, the gay and lesbian members. Now, there are about 70 of those. About 65 of them are for Hillary Clinton, 2 are for Bernie Sanders. There are dozens of African American and Hispanic members who served with both of them. All but 2 are for Hillary Clinton. The organizations, Planned Parenthood, the Human Rights Campaign, and it has to do with how you bring about change. Senator Sanders' approach has been to say, look, I will state what I believe, and I'm not going to compromise, and that's it. What he states he understands is going to be hard to enact. He, in fact, himself acknowledges that it will take a revolution to get what is done. That's why he is, in fact, so critical objectively of President Obama. The health care bill that was passed, financial reform, those were tough, hard things to get done. Senator Sanders voted for them. If he had some very drastic alternatives, he didn't make a very effective effort to get them done, but he now denigrates them. And so that's the difference. The people who have been working in the Congress, and I'm not talking about some establishment, I'm talking about the most effective liberals, people on the left, as I said, the Black Caucus, the leaders in the fight for immigration, the leaders in the fight for same-sex marriage, the leaders in the fight for economic justice. Overwhelmingly, based on having worked with both of them, they are for Hillary Clinton. And there is, I think, a difference in how you approach things. I think Senator Sanders opts for kind of the purity of the statement, and it makes some of his people feel good. But if you look at the groups in our Democratic coalition who have a lot on the line, they're overwhelmingly for Hillary Clinton.
All right. Now, he just spoke for 2 minutes and change, making his point. Okay, and let me go after him on his points. #1, fuck the Congressional Black Caucus. Those motherfuckers are all in Hillary Clinton's pocket, and I don't know what the fuck she promised them, but every last single one of them, other than 2, basically have come to the side of Hillary Clinton. Now, that reminds me of what happened in the 2008 election, where Clinton was able to snatch up all of the a majority of the black politicians in the House and in the Senate. Okay, but after Obama showed that he was able to wear her ass out, all of a sudden you had all these mass defections. All right, so that's one. So the Congressional Black Caucus and the Hispanic Black Caucus, them supporting Hillary Clinton, just tells me that they're in her fucking pocket. Okay, #2. As far as change is concerned, you don't make change by adhering to the status quo and trying to, talk that bullshit about trying to work it out with people. You always start from a position of pie in the sky and then work your way down. Clinton is not starting from pie in the sky. Clinton is starting from basically a status quo position, and then I guess is going to move from there. And the only way that she can compromise with the people on the other side is to move to the right, okay? Now, as far as that $15 an hour wage that she was so happy to stand behind Governor Cuomo in New York, she wasn't originally for $15 an hour federal, I'm sorry, a national wage. She wasn't for that. You know, she was for an increase, but not for that $15. But now all of a sudden, New York puts it in and California puts it in. Now all of a sudden, she's all gung-ho about $15 an hour. Bernie's been sprouting $15 an hour ever since, you know, he came on the scene. So, you know, Barney Frank is full of shit as far as that's concerned. Now, let's get Nina Turner's response and see how much time she actually gets.
Nina Turner, what would be your #1 point to Wisconsin voters tonight?
I think the #1 point that Senator Sanders has made and will continue to make is that he has been a consistent and honest champion against trade deals that take away jobs from folks in this country, in particular states like Wisconsin, where those trade deals have devastated. Senator Bernie Sanders has been on the picket line, not just talking the talk with the House of Labor and whispering sweet nothings in their ear when it comes time for election, but he has actually put his body on the picket line with those workers. So those are some of the things. And I certainly disagree with the congressman. There may be many people standing that are part of the elected ministry in the establishment standing on the side of Secretary Clinton. Some of those folks I've worked with. But the bottom line is this: there are millions of Americans in this country who believe that change needs to come, that the status quo cannot continue, that people are suffering in this country. And Senator Bernie Sanders has a proven track record of having the good judgment and standing up for the least of these when it is not convenient. So it is unfair. And Congress people like Keith Ellison, I would take his endorsement any day, and he has endorsed Senator Bernie Sanders, and that is a big deal. There was a time in this country where the majority of folks thought slavery was okay too.
Okay, she got a little less than 2 minutes on her response, and Barney Frank was trying to jump in on her, but she was at least able to complete her thought. So as far as her statement, as far as there was a time in this country where they thought slavery was okay, I'm going to answer his question. He's going to pose it that he doesn't know where she's coming from when she posed that. The question is, the majority of people in this country at one point in time, obviously before the Civil War, thought that slavery was okay. But just because the majority of people think something's okay, that doesn't necessarily make it okay.
That last comment just baffles me. It's going to take me about a week to figure out what that was supposed to mean. But as far as Keith Ellison is concerned, I admire Keith. I've just signed an email for him. But he's 1 out of 45 members of the Congressional Black Caucus, and every other one is for Hillary Clinton. So you're talking about the establishment. No, I don't think John Lewis, one of the great moral leaders of my generation, who's a strong Hillary Clinton supporter.
John Lewis's time has passed. John Lewis, when the Democrats were in power, was not the chairman of any committee. As right now, he is not the I can't say assistant chairman, but he is not the main Democrat on any major committee that's in Congress right now. So he's basically just sitting there. He's getting elected based on his record as of his struggle in the civil rights period. And that's basically it, because as far as I can find, he really hasn't proposed any major legislation in probably the last 10 to 15 years.
Is the establishment, not in a bad way. Oh, Luis Gutierrez, who's led the fight for immigration. I understand.
Luis Gutierrez, okay, has been a Clinton supporter since day one. Luis Gutierrez had ties to the Clinton administration when Bill was in office. So Luis Gutierrez, you know, doesn't mean jack to me. Luis Gutierrez basically was a supporter of Rahm Emanuel and Anita Alvarez in Chicago until the sky fell in on them because of those police shootings and them covering them up. So fuck Luis Gutierrez. He's full of shit.
Yeah, and maybe this highlights it. Yes, Senator Sanders was on the picket line, and that's a good place for people who are in labor. But what we want, if we're going to make progress, is to be effective within the way government works and to mobilize support for that. Okay,
so now being effective in the way that government works. Bernie Sanders has authored more amendments to legislation in the House and combined House and Senate than any other congressman currently seated. Okay, so as far as being effective and getting things done, Sanders has gotten things done.
Of course we want change. Hillary Clinton is as committed to change as Bernie Sanders.
Bullshit.
So is Barack Obama. The problem is in Senator
Barack Obama, he came on with the being committed to change, and yeah, he did get a bunch of stuff done. But after he lost the House, his power was substantially reduced, and then when he lost the Senate, his only ability for change was in the form of executive orders. And you could say that for anybody. If Clinton was sitting in his place, she would have been in the same boat. So, you know, they are right in saying that you're going to have some kind of compromise, but you still have to have the numbers that are going to back you up. And as far as this is concerned, if that House doesn't shift over, if the Senate doesn't shift over in the next election so that the Democrats get a majority in the Senate, they're going to have hell trying to get the Supreme Court justices passed, period. So what he's saying, you know, works both ways. No matter which person is in there, either Clinton or Sanders, there's got to be a revolution, and that revolution has to take the form of flipping the House, if possible, and definitely flipping the Senate, because the Supreme Court is going to be a key factor here as far as getting the proper interpretation of laws and the reversal of some of these bullshit laws that the conservative Supreme Court has allowed to stand, i.e. we need to make sure that Roe v. Wade is not touched, that they start killing these bullshit voter suppression laws that the individual states are putting in. They need to start killing these bullshit laws that are shutting down Planned Parenthood, okay? And they need to do something about campaign finance, because all these guys, including members of the Black Caucus, who are actually people that are lobbyists for the various industries, including the tobacco industry, the oil and gas industry, the finance industry. A lot of those guys are getting their money from as paid lobbyists. I can't actually say paid lobbyists, but they are on record as being affiliated with a lot of these industries that they're writing legislation on. So that's a bunch of bullshit.
Sanders has denigrated the kind of change we were able to get.
Okay. Bernie Sanders has not denigrated anything. What he has said is that we need to go further. He has not denigrated the Affordable Care Act, but what he is after is getting the rest of the people, the last 20 million people who don't have health insurance, he's after getting them health insurance as well. So that's not denigrating the president. And that's not denigrating the policies that he's making. Bernie Sanders is also after a common sense immigration policy. That's not denigrating the president either. So Bernie Sanders is throwing his bullshit out here about Sanders not being in line with the president, but I believe Sanders has followed the Democratic Party line in approximately 98% of the votes that have been taken.
Because his mode of operation is in fact the picket line. And if you look at, people made a big point about how no senator was supporting Ted Cruz until the Trump era overtook him. Well, no senator is supporting Bernie Sanders, and that includes a lot of very committed non-establishment types. So there is a difference in how you get things done. There is no great difference in where you want to go, but the overwhelming judge.
There is a great difference on where you want to go, because she doesn't want to go as far as Bernie Sanders wants to go, and that's the problem. She wants to mealy mouth her way for a little bit of progress here and there, which really is not going to help the everyday guy, and Bernie Sanders is out there trying to get the whole enchilada. Now, true, he may not be able to get the whole enchilada, but at least if he starts with the whole enchilada, he might be able to get at least 3/4 of it, maybe half of it. She's starting with maybe half of the enchilada, and they're going to whittle her ass down to 1/4 to none of the damn enchilada.
It's not just people in Congress. Planned Parenthood, the Human Rights Campaign.
Okay, Planned Parenthood and the Human Rights Campaign. Bernie Sanders gets the same rating that Hillary Clinton gets, which is a 100% rating from each of those organizations. So why did they pick her? Because she called in favors and she's closer to them than Bernie Sanders was. But as far as record is concerned, they both have an equal record and an equal rating as far as both of those organizations are concerned. So for him to pull that one up, they would have to explain why. And I don't want to say it's because Planned Parenthood is backing her because she's a woman. I want to say that they're backing her because they have a closer personal relationship than he does.
Leading environmental groups, leading budget fairness groups, they prefer Hillary Clinton because they do appreciate, yes, Senator Sanders speaks out, but simply articulating your position and not doing the hard work of getting legislation done, which means compromise, which he has a hard time doing.
Okay,
that's a problem.
I'm sorry, we're going to have to squeeze in a quick commercial here, so we'll have more talk time on the other side of it. We're back with former Congressman Barney Frank, who supports Hillary Clinton, and former Ohio State Senator Nina Turner, who supports Bernie Sanders. And Nina Turner, to Hillary Clinton's point and to the point Barney was just making, that Hillary Clinton is the one who is better equipped and has a better record of actually getting things done than Bernie Sanders. What's your response to that?
You know, Lawrence, it really is patently unfair for the congressman to say that Senator Sanders has not been a part of getting things done in the Congress. Let us not forget that he was on the committee that heard the Affordable Care Act. As a matter of fact, helped to make the Affordable Care Act a reality. And the senator is not against the Affordable Care Act. The only thing is that he is saying is that in this country, there are still 29 million people who do not have health care. And let us work for universal health care in this country. So it is patently false to say that he wants to do away with it. It's patently false to say that he is against the president. The congressman and I both know that Senator Sanders has voted over 98% of the time. He has been right where the Democrats are. Let us not forget that one of the most comprehensive veteran bills that have passed in recent history was passed with Senator Bernie Sanders having a partnership with Senator John McCain. So he does get things done. But he doesn't just talk the talk, he walks the walk. And that is very important. And people are looking for that kind of change, that kind of righteous indignation in a leader that understands that the working poor and the middle class have been left behind in this country, that we have a corrupt system of finance that gives more speech to people who have money, and we have to do something about that. That is what they are looking for. He was the mayor of the city of Burlington, where he got a lot done. So he's been both an administrator, a member of the House of Representatives, and a member of the Senate, and he has a record to prove that not only can he work and compromise with people, he can get things done. But I don't think it is wrong for him to say that people have been suffering in this country, that people do deserve a living wage of $15 an hour. All of those things are important, and that is what he is fighting for.
All right, so she just kicked his ass twice, okay? Now he's going to end up getting the last word, even though he shouldn't, because he got the first word, and then they're going to run out of time. But I'm going to clean it up for her after he gets done.
Barney Frank, go ahead.
Yeah, of course. In the first place, those are non-issues in the Democratic side. The higher minimum.
Bullshit. They were issues for Hillary Clinton because she wasn't on board on any of them until Bernie pushed her into those positions. So for him to say that those issues are universal Democratic issues, they probably are, except for her, because she wasn't on board with them again until Bernie pushed her into those positions.
Wage, increasing health care. There was a question about how you do it. The other point I want to repeat is, and I think this is relevant, because Senator and I can talk about this and people listening, you have members of Congress, Democratic members of Congress, the Congressional Black Caucus.
He's going to keep falling back on the people that are supporting Clinton, and I'm falling back on they're in her fucking pocket, you know, and she's promised him something. So as far as I'm concerned, having the support of the Congressional Black Caucus doesn't really float my boat.
Hispanic caucus, gay members, advocates for health care, advocates for tougher financial reform. They are overwhelmingly for Hillary Clinton. 2 of the black and Hispanic members are for Sanders. 5 total, but the overwhelming, and it's based on a view that she does better. Yes, we want to expand health care. Do you do it by essentially, as Senator Sanders began by saying, in effect replacing what we now have with a new system that it would be very hard to pass, or do you build on it incrementally? Incrementalism to him, and I think to some of his supporters, is a bad word, but in the American system, that's the only way you can get there. And let me give an example of what I think is his rigidity. one of the most important issues for Hispanics and strongly supported for Democrats in general is amnesty, a legal path to citizenship. There was a bill that passed back. What happened was Bernie Sanders voted against it. Yes.
Okay, let me clean that up because they're gonna cut him. They're not gonna give Nina Turner a chance to respond. Yes, he did in fact vote against that bill, but the reason he voted against that bill was all of the major Hispanic organizations in the country did not want to see that bill pass, because what it would have done, it would have created basically not a second-class citizen, but a third-class citizen. It would have made basically the migrant or guest workers coming into the country to do that work, it would have made them slaves. They would not have had any ability to question anything that the people that were hiring them to do. And if they did speak up, all they would have been done was that all the people would have been deported immediately. They had no rights, no nothing. And the Hispanic organizations took a look at that bill, said, nah, it was slavery. They didn't want it passed. And Bernie stuck with them instead of with the majority. Actually, he was the majority because the bill didn't pass.
He's for a path to citizenship, but he's against doing what you have to do in this American political system to get it done. And on the auto bailout, it is also the case.
I'm sorry, we're out of time for tonight.
See, and that's the problem. He's talking about doing the things that you have to do. So, in other words, he's saying, well, we could get something, but we got to create a bunch of slaves in order to do it. Nah, that's bullshit. That's bullshit. And that refers back to that statement that she originally said, that the majority of people thought that slavery was okay. Well, in this case, the majority of people, if that bill had passed, would have thought that slavery of the Hispanic guest workers would have been okay. So, fuck you, Barney Frank. Fuck you where you breathe.
I hope we can continue this conversation. And Nina Turner, I know you have a response on that immigration point.
Yes, I do.
But we're out of time for tonight. Thank you both, Barney Frank and Nina Turner. I really appreciate you being with us tonight.
Thank you.
In fact, what happened was Bernie Sanders voted against it. Yes.
Okay, let me clean that up because they're gonna cut him. They're not gonna give Nina Turner a chance to respond. Yes, he did in fact vote against that bill, but the reason he voted against that bill was all of the major Hispanic organizations in the country did not want to see that bill pass, because what it would have done, it would have created basically not a second-class citizen, but a third-class citizen. It would have made basically the migrant or guest workers coming into the country to do that work, it would have made them slaves. They would not have had any ability to question anything that the people that were hiring them to do. And if they did speak up, all they would have been done was that all the people would have been deported immediately. They had no rights, no nothing. And the Hispanic organizations took a look at that bill, said, nah, it was slavery. They didn't want it passed. And Bernie stuck with them instead of with the majority. Actually, he was the majority because the bill didn't pass.
He's for a path to citizenship, but he's against doing what you have to do in this American political system to get it done. And on the auto bailout, it is also the case.
I'm sorry, we're out of time for tonight.
See, and that's the problem. He's talking about doing the things that you have to do. So, in other words, he's saying, well, we could get something, but we got to create a bunch of slaves in order to do it. Nah, that's bullshit. That's bullshit. And that refers back to that statement that she originally said, that the majority of people thought that slavery was okay. Well, in this case, the majority of people, if that bill had passed, would have thought that slavery of the Hispanic guest workers would have been okay. So, fuck you, Barney Frank. Fuck you where you breathe.
I hope we can continue this conversation. And Nina Turner, I know you have a response on that immigration point.
Yes, I do.
But we're out of time for tonight. Thank you both, Barney Frank and Nina Turner. I really appreciate you being with us tonight.
Thank you.